New tonight, we're taking an in-depth look at Compstat. It's just one of the tools the Phoenix Police Department will use to implement its new crime reduction plan. While it's new for Phoenix PD, Compstat has been used in police departments across the country for decades. Critics of the tool are worried about Compstat's potential impact on minority communities across Phoenix. It's a policing tool used to look at real-time data and data trends, providing up-to-the-minute crime intelligence to police departments across the country.
It's really the taking of the data, synthesizing it, and looking at where the trends are.
It's called Compstat, but it's not new, just new to Phoenix. It was first introduced in the 1990s in an effort to help NYPD bring down the city's then sky-high homicide rates. Now it's one of the ways the Phoenix Police Department plans to curb violent crimes in its crime reduction plan.
One of the big criticisms of Compstat was that it has a tendency to target communities of color.
Lon Bartell is a retired police officer in the Valley. And while he commends parts of Phoenix PD's plan, he points to concerns of over-policing in the hotspots identified by Compstat data.
And they're talking about targeting violent offenders and talking about, targeting certain crimes, which I appreciate, but at some point in time, you have cops there, they're going to see other activities, and they're going to do what police officers do, which is investigate, find out, figure out, and if we do have crime, they start taking enforcement actions.
Over-policing hotspots and the manipulation of crime statistics were some of the main criticisms of Compstat by members of the NYPD as recently as 2020.
That's one of the greatest concerns that comes out of Compstat, and it was one of the criticisms when Compstat was used in New York.
The Phoenix Police Department is already under investigation by the Department of Justice for its use of force practices and allegations of discriminatory policing. And now will begin to implement Compstat, a move that community advocacy groups like Poder in Action say will, quote, lead to increased criminalization of Black and brown communities. I brought those concerns to Phoenix PD's interim police chief, Michael Sullivan, when we sat down to discuss the department's crime reduction plan. You're now switching over to Compstat. There's a lot of controversy surrounding Compstat. Can you explain your decision, especially with the controversy it's created with the NYPD?
Well, this will be much different than Compstat at the NYPD, I promise you. This is about performance management. It's about the total performance of this department. I think it's what we need to do. I've implemented effective performance management tools in multiple departments, and I know we're going to do it here, and we're going to do it the right way. And it's going to be focused on crime, certainly, because that's what we exist for.
In a letter for the end of Compstat, the NYPD Captains Endowment Association president said, quote, the fact is, Compstat puts pressure on precinct and division commanders to go into minority neighborhoods for targeted enforcement by way of arrest and summonses. This inherently creates tension between Black and brown communities. How do you respond to that?
Well, I would say that we're not New York City. And the Compstat that, the performance management that we're going to do here is not going to be the performance management that was present in New York City. We will show a much different product.
Chief Sullivan emphasized the need to build trust in the community.
As we talk about Compstat, that's one of the things we will look at. We'll look at community engagement as well as crime numbers, not pushing any sort of status on citations or anything like that, but how we are building trust in communities.
Let's talk about that, because the criticism of Compstat is productivity policing. What are the benchmarks these precincts are going to have to meet in order to meet your standards of this plan?
I'm not talking about inputs, I'm talking about outputs. I'm talking about how it affects the community on the other side. I'm not talking about citations or arrests. What we want to talk about is how crime has been reduced, how quality of life has improved. Those are the important benchmarks of the quality of life that's present in Phoenix neighborhoods.
But it's the quality of life in Phoenix neighborhoods community advocates are concerned about, with Poder in Action noting in their statement that Compstat is a, quote, canary in the coal mine for Black and brown communities. Also talked about the interim chief, about the 4 strategic priorities listed in the department's new crime reduction plan and how he plans to achieve a reduction of violent crimes by 5%, property crimes by 8%. Now, he told me it's going to take a lot of buy-in from both officers and the community. You can see that part of my one-on-one interview on ABC15.com.